Welcome, everybody, to the CBSI Hot 10 Comic Show for the week of May 15th, 2020. I am here with a good group of friends from the Absolute Geek podcast. Boys, why don't you introduce yourself? Kyle?
I'm Kyle from Absolute Geek.
I'm Travis from Comic Exposure. I'm just going in the order.
Hey, that's fine. Yep. No problems. I'm Matt from Absolute Geek. How's it going, everyone?
So make sure you guys, if you get a chance, check out the Absolute Geek podcast, check out the Comic Exposure podcast. We're just a bunch of guys talking comics and joking around, having a good time, shooting the shit. I think you'll enjoy it. But we're going to get into the Hot 10 right away here. Before I start, I want to make sure everybody do yourself a favor and, of course, go over to comicbookinvest.com where you can see the Hot 10. If you just go to the comicbookinvest.com, the Hot 10 will always be on the right side of the page, and you can see all your amazing articles. A really good new article about clowns that is going to be talking about the 3-Card Monty, which is a new show on Flipside YouTube channel where they pull out 3 clown comics and talk about it. It's a really good show. Make sure you guys check that out, and we will get right on into it. Gentlemen, here we go. The Golden Age book this week is, I thought this was interesting. This was the... I don't know how to say it. It's kind of risque title type stuff.
I like to call it risque in the hay. It looks like the title
exactly.
If it's an artwork, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if it's Golden Age, it's going to be risque and in the hay and called Popular Teen-Agers.
I can see why she is.
Popular Teen-Agers number 10 by artist of this cover is L.B. Cole. L.B. Cole, a great Golden Age artist. What Ben writes about this is very few sales of this book ever, but it is an L.B. Cole cover, so it makes this romance book really cool. And an 8.5 sold this week for $1,500, which is about 6 times guide. So this again, guys, this is what we talk about every time we show you guys Golden Age books. Color, the yellow, the red, the risque things, the headlights, the rolling around in the hay, like you said, Travis.
It's that bleeding of the leaves, the yellow in those leaves, how they bleed up into the stars. I mean, that's cover craftsmanship right there.
So if you can ever find something this lovely, that old, color like that, make sure you pick it up if you get a chance. All right, on to the second honorable mention this week. This is an interesting one. Superman number 38 from 2015, the Lee Motor 1 in 50 variant. This is from the Jeff Johns run. And what Ben writes about this is 0 sales until this week when one sold for $15. The only one listed at the moment for 5 times that amount. You may be able to find this one on certain major online retailers. I don't think that people realize that this is one of the very few Stargirl incentive variants out there. Is it the only one? That's a great question. If you guys know if there's any Stargirl incentive variants, make sure you comment on the live feed or in the comments on the page. Do you guys know if there's any? Can you guys think of any Stargirl variants? The only thing I would think of is maybe some Alex Ross stuff where she's on the JSA team. I can't think of this, but Stargirl.
I was trying to remember or think about it, but
yeah, Stargirl being in the they're going to start doing the TV show coming up here soon. So I'm always been a big fan of Stargirl. I love Jeff Johns writing her, and I love the Alex Ross stuff whenever he would do JSA. So maybe there's some stuff in there for that. Number 10 is an interesting one. Number 10 hollers back to last week's list with Ball and Chain. If you remember last week's number one comic that week was Ball and Chain number 1 from Homage, because of the news that The Rock and Emily Blunt, is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Are going to be playing the characters in this movie or TV show, whatever it's going to be. So the number 10 slot this week is held by Ball and Chain #1, the advanced copy. So some comics will send out advanced copies where it's just the script type thing and or no cover, and it'll be just like a couple quick, like ash cans or something like that. But this one is kind of interesting because there was a beat up copy that sold this week for $200. Yeah. And about a month ago, a nicer copy sold for $10. So, just the regular #1, which was #1 on the list last week, is $40, $50, I believe at the time last week. So $200 for that was nobody was even thinking about a week before is pretty good.
What I like about this cover, the cover we're seeing now is just the fonts. The fonts on this are, it takes me back to a classical era. It takes me back to my typing classes. Bold, unbold. I mean, this is some really advanced.
Your days as a theater kid. Is it getting ready for your school play?
I made a flyer.
Yep. A shout out to both shows. This is actually announced this week that Ball and Chain is going to be on Netflix. Netflix won the bidding war between the streaming services for Ball and Chain, so you will see that on Netflix.
Nice. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, like Zoloki pointed out, despite the not for resale on the bottom, it sold for over $200. Huh?
Yeah. All right, on to #9 this week. The Man Called Nova #1 from 1976. 9.8s had softened from the $1,000 they were getting back in the fall of last year all the way down to about 800s. But rumor of an Annihilation movie with Nova and Adam Warlock has put some pep back in his step, and they have jumped back up to 1,000.
Nice.
But be cautious of where that rumor originated. And I don't know where that rumor originated. I imagine it's one of the less trustworthy web pages where we hear all these movie rumors and whatnot. So
you're saying that you definitely don't have this covered?
I definitely don't have this covered. On to #8. Oh, here you go, Matt. One of your favorites, one of your all-time favorites, Ultimate Fallout #4, the first appearance of Miles Morales. This book is going crazy again. It was on here a couple weeks ago. But what Ben writes is ignoring some of the out of left field sales that are likely from someone thinking it was the first print. The second print is on the list this week because it just sold for over $100 at the beginning of the year for 9.8 copies, and sales this week have passed $300. So I didn't realize. I forgot that there was a second print about this with this cover. I always thought that the second print was the one where it just shows his face up close.
I dollar binned this book.
Did you really? Great book to find a dollar bin.
I have it in my stack of possible sales right now. Actually,
you throw it up there.
I dollar binned it. One of the times we were at Jesse James digging through comics when we had those huge collections, and I pulled it out. And actually, at first I pulled out and bought it, and then when I looked closer, I was like, "Oh man, it's the second print."
Score,
but now it's
$100.
That quick, it became a score.
Yeah. So, on to #7. This is Marvel Previews #95. Now, I know some people are going to go crazy right now because we're throwing a previews book again on the Hot 10. But, some people like this type of spec. I'm, for one, of the type of person that if I really like a character, I want to find all the early appearances, including the advertising appearances. I'm that type of collector. So it's not really what Ben writes is not really a comic per se, but some people seem to value it for previewing Miles Morales as Spider-Man. Raw copies kind of range from $25 to $75 before, but multiple 100+ raw sales this week, as well as a $2,100 9.8 sale. Not my cup of tea, but I'm just reporting what is going on. I did not realize people were grading previews. This is just the Marvels preview. This isn't the super thick one. Remember, the Marvels preview is like a regular size book inside there. But that's still crazy to me.
Yeah, I always used to dig at long box hunting at cons. Was always fun to find previews and just kind of pick them up because they were just kind of like I'll just throw them in the bag or whatever. It cost me pennies on the dollar, and now they're becoming a commodity, huh?
Yeah,
that's what I do with my previews. Like, you get them from the comic book store. They come on top of all my weekly readers. And when I'm done, I just put them in the box with everything else. As I'm flipping through books looking for them, all those previews are in between everything, and they just kind of sit there.
Yeah. Well, you know me, Kyle, I love any type of old school preview type magazine, whether it's, like Amazing Heroes or even previews, even Wizard. I love grabbing all that type of stuff. So
I love the anatomy on Spider-Man here in this too.
What's above the head with the back of the head?
Yeah. All right. On to number 6 this week. This one's interesting. Red Rooster. Shout out to Bryan Wood for his first comic cover appearance. Okay, let's see here. Selling in Walmart's only. The secondary market price is $20 plus. Not bad for a $5 book that no one has really ever heard of. If anyone has read it, what are your thoughts? So I don't know, but I heard a rumor. I heard somebody talking about a book that was put out for a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter never went through. So they gave it to, and they were selling at Walmart's. I don't know if this is that book, but I'm surprised that a non Marvel or DC book is selling at Walmart.
This cover is awesome with the watercolors on it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a book outside of Marvel or DC at Walmart.
What's that?
I haven't seen a book outside of Marvel and DC.
Yeah, neither have I. Neither have I.
What's a Red Rooster power? What's his power set here?
I imagine it probably has something to do with Soviet stuff. Maybe, I don't know. It almost looks kind of Soviet style stuff. But I couldn't tell you. This is definitely not on my radar. But hey, if you're walking in your local Walmart and you walk past the cards and comics section and you see one of these for $5, grab it and sell it for 20. Make yourself a couple bucks.
He wants to cockle doodle do good. I'll sleep myself out, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.
He's just a Russian who's really good at waking people up. Wake up! You're going to be late for work. Come on, let's go.
Well, before we go on to the next one, I want to remind everybody again about CBSI and comicbookinvest.com. This next book is part of this Star Wars craziness that has just been going nuts lately. And there's a really cool new article on here that gives you an idea of the timelines in the Star Wars era, different eras throughout the Star Wars universe. And it gives you books that take place during those timelines. And this helps a lot just to kind of get an idea of where everybody's at in the different timelines. You don't think about that a lot, but I love shit like this. I love lists like this that you can really geek out on and find out other stuff about maybe timelines that you really loved. A lot of this stuff, goes back to the book canon and stuff, but there's some really great new Star Wars articles coming out every day over at comicbookinvest.com. So make sure you guys go and check them out, and make sure you guys check out Absolute Geek Podcast, where I am joined by my homies right now.
I appreciate the accidental plug. Yeah, nothing wrong with a good accidental plug.
So this is Star Wars craziness. We've been talking about it on Absolute Geek the last couple of weeks. We've talking about it on CBSI and Flipside the last couple of weeks. It's just nuts. And the rumors or the talks about Boba Fett being in The Mandalorian and whether we're going to see his daughter is kind of making this book, Star Wars Tales #7, just go through the roof. Should have been on the list last week. Ben, even said that, but it just kind of happened so quick when the news came out. And what Ben writes is, anything Boba Fett is hot at the moment after being announced for The Mandalorian. How are they going to do this, though? Will his resurrection suck, or will they use his daughter, who appears here first as a baby? In any case, people are gobbling this one up from $75 to $100 plus raw. So again, another Star Wars book that'll give you $100 in your hand if you can find one. So
Oh, the cat's in the cradle on the Endor moon, little boy blue.
Hey, this cover is kick ass, and there's also a really cool photo variant to this cover. It's kind of it reminds me of like a 70s style photo variant of Boba Fett. It's weird, but I love this series. Star Wars Tales is a great series. You can find a lot of great first appearances there, and Star Wars is going to be on this list for a long time to come. And a lot of these cool first appearances are starting to shoot through the roof. So, on to number 4, with news of Sweet Tooth, being made into a series. It's back on the list, and this book is doing well for a while. Ben writes, sometimes hitting the $50 mark, but mostly selling for the $30 to $40 range. That'll change this week as copies have been selling for $125 to $200 raw after Robert Downey Jr. tweeted about how he's producing the show for Netflix. Crazy. Remember, I think we found this in a collection, Kyle. There was like 3 runs of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great series, really great series. If you get into it, it's a really cool series, and it's going to be a really cool show. But $200 raw for this book is nuts.
Crazy.
I don't know why someone doesn't offer Jeff Lemire kind of like what Miller got, where it's like we like a network's like we want to purchase all your original stuff together, because Jeff Lemire's got it's so many different genres, and there's such a wealth of material there.
Yes.
I'm going to say it's only a matter of time before that happens.
Yeah.
Only a matter of time.
Yep. All right. On to number 3 this week. And we can't have a top 10 list without Noel making his appearance. And here he is in Web of Venom #1, the second print. And what Ben writes is what I just said. Can't keep him off the list. $5 a week ago, this book was going for. Now it's a $70 book. So
it's about sleep paralysis.
Yeah, that's like the old hag syndrome right there. That almost looks like a cover, or homage to a Venom cover, an old school Venom cover.
How much do you think the delays with Diamond and all that are up in the hype around Noel? Because I know we're all supposed to start getting the
great question.
His stuff in the books, and it keeps getting postponed, so it's just upping that hype for him.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of hype that's being cattywampus right now because of everything that's going on. But I think Noel is a really good character to spec on.
Yeah, we just did Silver Surfer Black on the Comic Exposure podcast, and Matt likes that. And Noel's in there, and I love the design of it. It's a great character.
Yeah, that book, book that he was in, that series was on the list last week, I believe. So, you just, like Ben says, you can't keep him off the list. He's just too hot. The spec is really good for this character. If you can find books, if you have books, his first appearances, I would hold on to him and maybe see what's going to happen in the movies coming up. All right. Last 2 books of the list. Ahsoka. She's just so hot right now that you can't expect her not to be at the top of the list. And not only is she at number 2, but she's at number 1 also. So,
you got really Mugati right there. You're like, Ahsoka, so hot right now, so hot.
Everybody, Travis lives over in Japan, so he kind of I don't know. Is Ahsoka Japanese? It kind of sounds like Japanese.
It sounds like a Japanese name, Ahsoka.
It does.
It has all the syllables of a Japanese name.
Yeah. So, but before I go any further, because I just remembered you're out there in Japan. What's it like over there in Japan right now with the quarantine? How are you guys doing?
It's things are locked down. People are working from home. It's opened up a little bit more. Japanese are so used to dealing with panics and tragedies that there's. Even though that they're being very responsible about stuff, there is a sense of I just don't feel as less. I feel like the nature is less panicky. I feel like people are a little bit more level-headed about how they go about things, and it seems to be working out well. Things aren't spiking here. So, and also they're a pretty cleanly culture. Everything is wiped down before this. People were masked all the time. So.
All right, and back to from that U-turn. Number 2 is Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Now, this is the book that I would love to own right now. I tried to buy a copy for an outrageous price last week. And a matter of fact, I'll just say, I tried to buy this copy for $1,300 last week. Guy had it available. Guy had it up for $1,400. or buy it now for like $1,400. I put in an offer for $1,300, and he's like, sorry, I can't. I was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, this book is hot. And this is one of 1,000 copies. There was 10. I think they sent 10 copies to the 10 stores that sell the best in the Dark Horse stuff. This is when Dark Horse was doing their Dark Horse 100 stuff, where they were doing all the extra cool variants. So this was one of those one of 1,000 copies. And Star Wars: The Clone Wars #1 variant. Now, like I said, I tried to buy a copy for $1,300 and got turned away. This book is, selling for ridiculous prices, raw $500-600, maybe even more. And a 9.8 sold for $1,360. There we go. And a raw copy sold for $850 is what Ben writes. So I love this book. Super tough to find in good grade, and super tough to find at all. But if you have one, let me know. And the regular version of Star Wars: The Clone Wars #1 is another super hot book. Obviously, first appearance of Ahsoka again. And this book, Ben writes, is $800 and $900 sales this week for a 9.8. We've talked about this book ad nauseum, but it is otherworldly hot right now. A 9.6 copy will run you $500 as well. So just crazy stuff. I'm really excited, though, to see where this is going. What do you guys think we're going to see in Mandalorian? Do you think we're going to see Boba Fett's daughter?
Maybe season 3, but I don't think season 2.
I think they're going to tease it towards the end.
And do we see Sabine in this season 2?
I think so, yes.
That could be huge. And I saw that they just got Katie Sokoloff. Is that her name? To reprise. She voiced one of the characters in Clone Wars, and she's going to play the character in Mandalorian, it looks like. So I love what they're doing. They're really catering to the fans. Kathleen Kennedy be damned. I love Jon Favreau and what he's done. He's really put Star Wars on his back and kind of taken it back into the rare air. So like.
Go ahead, like Ahsoka is so hot right now. She's going to be in Mandalorian season 2. She's supposed to have a bigger role in season 3, and there's talk of a spinoff series for her on Disney Plus. So I think she's going to be a character that's around for a long time, and it's going to change Star Wars history more than she already has.
Well, the interesting thing is that she is a tie to Skywalker, and they said they were done with the Skywalker saga. But if you have Ahsoka as a main character in the story, there's no way you're not going to talk about Anakin Skywalker, period. So I love that shit, because that's what I am really I'm really fiending for, some Anakin Skywalker where he's evil, storylines like we're seeing in Vader, where he's going out and taking out in the early the reissue for Marvel, where he's going out and taking out all the other Jedis. I want to see that type of stuff. So maybe we will. All right. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Make sure you guys go check out Absolute Geek Podcast. Give them a sub. We really appreciate it. Make sure you sub to Flipside. And check out all the new shows that are going on. And we're getting really close to 1,000 subscribers. So give us a share or two, and we really appreciate it. Other than that, you guys got anything else?
No. That's it.
Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Happy collecting.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Later.